Hi, guys, welcome back. This is Unbreakable Kathy, and Unbreakable Kathy is about to try Oatzempic. I didn't really know too much about Oatzempic other than the fact that it wasn't Ozempic, so I asked my good buddy Copilot, tell me what Oatzempic is about. And here's what Copilot said. If you add oats, water, and lime juice into a blender, you'll get the concoction you're supposed to drink for Oatzempic, and as an option, you can throw in cinnamon. The oats are high in beta glucan, and that can help you feel satiated. In other words, you won't feel hungry for longer periods of time. By replacing a high caloric meal with this low calorie drink, you can enter a caloric deficit, which is necessary to lose some weight. The Copilot did want me to tell you guys that quick fixes are not usually something you can sustain long term. But I asked Copilot, I said, hey, if you have a plain bowl of oatmeal each day for breakfast, do you get the same effect? And Copilot said, yes, of course you do. So I've already been doing this for a long time. I'm a big fan of oatmeal, but let's see how Unbreakable Kathy did with Oatzempic. I hope you enjoy.
So today we're gonna try Oatzempic. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Kat Wagwan. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you guys so much for being here. So like I said in the beginning, today we're gonna try Oatzempic. It's 1 cup of water, half a cup of oats, and half of a lime or lemon.
Then you're gonna blend. That's all you're gonna do. Blend, blend, blend.
So I tried to blend this to get it as smooth as possible, and I did my best with the blender that I have. But for those of you with a Ninja or something even better, congratulations. Hopefully you can get it as smooth as possible. The grains haven't swollen as yet, so it's really watery at the moment.
You're supposed to drink this every single morning on an empty stomach. I've heard people saying they've lost a pound or 2, 3 pounds, 4 pounds, 5 pounds a week. It's a lot, depending on how you actually do this. Some people do this alone, they don't go to the gym. And some people do this and they do go to the gym. But everybody claims that they have lost some amount of weight on this and by doing this. I am currently weighing, we're not going to talk about how much I'm currently weighing. Because it's not going to, the way I look, like how I look and what I weigh are going to.
All right, you know I love guessing. Let's guess. I'm going to say she honestly looks, and I know I say this a lot, about 145 to 150 pounds. She looks right in that zone. She might even be a couple pounds less. If you would, let us know what you're guessing before she tells us the answer. And if you guys could help me figure this out, because I didn't ask Copilot about this, it looks like she made this wrong. Is it supposed to look like the equivalent of a half cup of milk? And if oatmeal gives you the same effect, at least with oatmeal you can warm it up. This doesn't seem very appealing. Let me know your thoughts down below.
Be completely two different things. So we're not going to talk about it because I lift a lot of weights when I'm at the gym, and it just contributes to how my muscle mass, heavy my muscle mass is, and the buildup of muscle mass and all that good stuff. So we're not going to talk about that. But I'm going to check my weight. I already checked my weight, I should say. So I already checked my weight. I know what I'm weighing right now. And then I'm going to see how much I lose this week. So join me. We're going to do this every single morning for an entire week.
The longer you wait to drink it, the thicker it gets. So I would advise you to drink it as quick as possible. When I first tasted it just now, the lemon hit me real bad. And I was like, oh, that's a bit much, but it was okay for me to get it down. We are at day 2 right now, and I look crazy. It's early in the morning, and it's the first thing I'm going to have. I normally don't have a lot of breakfast in the morning. Sometimes I'll eat at even 12 or 1, depending. Hence, I have gas problems, but, I'm just mixing everything here. I'm going to give it a blend. I believe one day I'm actually going to use some cinnamon in it because I wanted to change the taste of the lemon that I was getting. I don't know. It's just pretty weird. You expect when you have oats to taste something creamy and nice.
So I figured yesterday I didn't drink this so you guys could see. So maybe I should drink it on camera so you can see. It has a weight flavor to it, and it gets thick after a period of time. So be careful, because if you leave this for a long time, it'll get really, really thick.
So I want to blend this into her next video, which is where she gives us a little bit of what happened and what results she got, because she basically does this for the whole week. So my only thought behind this is, even if you add cinnamon to it, it seems like it would taste gross. I really like heating up the oatmeal. Let me know down below again if maybe you ruin something by heating it up. Maybe you boil out the beta glucan or something crazy. But let's check out her next video so we can see how how it concluded.
All right, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kat Wagwan. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you guys so much for being here. So I know you guys have a lot of questions when it comes on to Oatzempic, so I'm going to give you my follow-up on that right now. I actually heard you're supposed to do this for 40 days. I did it for a week. And by a week, I mean 6 days. I wasn't eating like better or anything like that while I was doing this. So it seems to have worked for me for some strange reason, so I've decided that next week I'm actually going to go back on this because, a girl likes to be regular, if you know what I mean.
So I've actually mentioned that because I do eat oatmeal all the time. I drink water and I walk all the time. I'm always regular. So again, if you actually have some issues with being regular, you might want to try the Oatzempic or at least a bowl of oatmeal every now and again.
Now, the recipe for this is 1 cup water, 1/2 cup oats, and 1/2 of a lime. Some people do say you can use lemon, and some people actually use cinnamon just to alter the taste because they do not like the way the oats and the lime taste together. So they add a little cinnamon to alter the taste so it goes down easier. I did that one time, and trust me, it burned my throat a bit. I think I put too much cinnamon when I did it in mine. You're supposed to just put a pinch, but I put way too much because I was like, pah, pah. When I took it down, it was burning. It was burning. So, of course, I actually adjusted it and went back and did it the normal way, what everybody was doing it, which was just the oats, the water, and the lime. Okay, next thing, taste. The taste of this is somewhat unexpected because, how do I explain this? Do you know how porridge tastes, like oats porridge tastes, and you're expecting that oats porridge taste whenever you take this drink and you want to down it. But actually, when you start to down it, you start to taste something sour. And it doesn't work that well, the taste, but it's not that bad actually to me. It's just not what I'm used to. So I tend to go and make my face up whenever I'm having it. I'm not saying that's the best thing. Some people have been saying, oh, that seems so disgusting, so nasty. And I don't know about you, but a lot of medicine, they don't taste good. Medicines don't tend to taste good. And I'm
It's not medicine.
not saying this is medicine by any means or, but I'm just trying to say there are things that you do have to take that don't taste good. Another thing is that everybody was asking how long does it last and if they have to do it every single morning. I do it every single morning. I've never tried to put it down and leave it for another day to drink it another day. However, I have had instances where I have been drinking, and then I was like, oh, I'm full, I can't take anymore. Put it down, and a couple hours later, I look at it and it's all curdled up.
There's something magical about oatmeal. Here's the comical thing about this Oatzempic. I don't see any value in the lime juice whatsoever. Just heat up a bowl of oatmeal in the microwave. Oh my God, did Jesse solve another problem?
Then move on with your day. Because I think even that slimy aspect and everything, when it goes in your tummy, it works together so that at night, when you go to do that number 2, we'll talk about the poop later on. We'll talk about the poop. Oh, the poop deserves its own section, okay? I would go to the bathroom every single evening. Sometimes I was even going in the morning. It wasn't hard. I know, TMI, but listen, let me tell you, it wasn't hard. It was so good. I went like that. You hear me? Just like that. I didn't have to go in the bathroom. No. It was boom. And it was like, it was cleaning me out. I don't know how to explain it, but my tummy down at the bottom here, down this section right here, it really was feeling so much better, not so hard and stiff, because I was going through a period of time where I was like, why is my tummy, the bottom of it, feeling so hard and stiff? But it wasn't feeling hard and stiff. It was feeling so much better. So I was good with that. And it was a lot of coming out. I was making my toilet work for its money. It was working for its money. All right, this is now 2 weeks after, and did I put the weight back on? I haven't put the weight back on as yet. I don't know if it will come back on, and I am happy about that. I do go to the gym and I make sure that I get at least a mile in on a treadmill. So do with that what you will. And yeah, I do work out. Overall, I would say I do work out with this. So yeah. Like I was saying, I've seen people online, they've been saying, hey, they've lost 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, and more. But for me, I've just lost 3 pounds. I lost 3 pounds in a week. I didn't change my diet. The only thing I did, as I would say, is just go outside, make sure I walk like at least a mile a day. And that was it. And some days I wouldn't even walk a mile. Like I told you last week, I did nothing. I was inside. But yeah, that's it. And I only did it for 6 days.
It kind of worked for her. So she ended up being a start weight of 162. I'm sorry I didn't show that, but I'm telling you guys. So I assume when she says she lost 3 pounds, she's down to 159. Don't tell her it could just be water weight. The truth is, oatmeal is an awesome food. I know there's a couple people online that say it's poisonous or it's bad for you. Nobody's dying from oatmeal. It's good stuff. So listen, go get your shoes. Let's go for a walk. Good morning, Venters. TGIS, thank God it's Saturday because TGIF, thank goodness it's Friday for me. I don't know what it is about Fridays and Saturdays, but we seem to love these days so much. I wonder if GL, who I believe is 68, GL, I don't know if you're watching this or not, but is Friday and Saturday anything special after you're retired? Because I'd imagine after you're retired, Friday and Saturday just kind of blend into the rest of the week like any other day would, right? As a matter of fact, if you're retired and you have little groups that you like to get along with, you know, like retirement groups, like, hey, we're going to go play bridge on Monday, I would imagine Monday would become your new favorite day. When my mom goes to the casino, every once in a blue moon, she'll play bingo. And every now and then she'll have a friend that says, hey, instead of going to the casino, why don't you come to this Foreign Legion group where we're going to be playing bingo? Or why don't you come to the church where we're going to be playing bingo? And it's interesting, some of our elderly folks absolutely love bridge and bingo. I don't know what it is, but they do. But you want to know something? If I was 65, 70 years old, and I had a group that liked to get together once or twice a week, whether it would be sewing, doing Sudoku puzzles, playing bridge, playing Uno, playing bingo, whatever the case might be, if you enjoy that, or at least if I enjoyed it, heck, that would become a new day where I really loved it. Who cares if it's Monday or Tuesday, right? I think retired folks have an advantage on the rest of us that they don't have to wait until a certain particular day of the week before they find happiness. I love our retired communities. We have areas out here like Sun City where you have to be like age 55 and over or 65 and over, whatever the case might be, right? And I'm sure where you live too, there's some elderly communities. I love whenever they have communities where they maybe make commercials about the area and they're like, yeah, look we have this rec center where everybody comes down, and you'll talk to seniors every now and then and they'll be like, yeah, on Mondays we like to go down and have breakfast with everybody. That's kind of a cool thing. That's why we have these senior communities and stuff. And it's funny because every now and then you'll find out that someone in the neighborhood is trying to sneak in somebody that's under age 55. And the neighbors don't like that stuff. Hey, why are you letting that young person live in our neighborhood? That young person's 52 years old. They're not old enough, they're young.
Could you imagine getting kicked out of your neighborhood because you're not quite 55 years old or whatever? That would be something. And a lot of times those people have kids that are in their 30s or whatever, and maybe they're just struggling with life. And you know, sometimes people absolutely need to stay with their folks for a minute. If you're sneaking into an elderly community hoping nobody sees you, you've already been caught, because those people see everything. Oh my goodness. Could you imagine the gossip in the elderly neighborhood? Edith is hiding her son here. That young buck is only 54. I don't like it. Guys, I got to tell you a story that I thought was super cool. Super cool story. So check this out. The Swansea Building Society is now trying to find the descendants of one Lydia Davis. Why? What did Lydia Davis do? She didn't do a darn thing, and she never received a letter at all. What do you mean she never received a letter at all? I'm confused. So check this out. This postcard was sent in 1903 to the Swansea Building on Craddock Street, the Craddock Street branch, okay? It was a Christmas card themed. It was Christmas themed. Hold on, LeBeau's walking by. Let me wait till we pass her, and then I'll tell the rest of the story. All right, make your predictions. What color shirt is LeBeau wearing today? Good morning, LeBeau. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. Have a good walk. All right, so we knew it was a red shirt, didn't we? Because LeBeau is the red venter. Don't ever forget that. All right, so check this out, guys. There was a Christmas card, a postcard sent in 1903 to the Swansea Building, the Craddock Street branch, okay? It was addressed to Miss Lydia Dent. The sender's name was Ewart, E-W-A-R-T, and in the postcard it actually shared regrets about not being able to find a pair of fill in the blank. I don't know if it was a pair of boots or a pair of this, that, and the other, whatever the pair might be. What do you buy in pairs other than maybe shoes or boots, right? Maybe a pair of socks, I don't know. But either way, he regretted not being able to find a pair of blank, okay? The sender's name was Ewart. He shared regrets about not being able to find a pair of X. And check this out. Although it was mailed in 1903, which is 4 years older than the oldest human being, Mrs. Branius, who we spoke about the other day, this card finally arrived in 2024. Oh, only 121 years late. So now the Swansea Building Society is trying to find the descendants of Lydia Davis. I thought that was interesting. There's a book called Last of the Mohicans, and I picked up a book from a used bookstore, this book. And when I opened up the cover, and I wish I wouldn't have gotten rid of this book, but I got rid of it. But on the cover, it was dated 1925. And it was a letter from one person to another stating, I hope you enjoy this book. I thoroughly enjoyed it, right? And then it said, love whoever. But I just remember the cursive was done in pencil, and it was beautifully done. And I felt like I was eavesdropping, guys. I felt like I was watching or reading a message that was never supposed to be sent to me. Yet I was reading a message from one person to another from 100 years ago. Like, seriously, how cool is that? You know? And this card, I'm gonna put a picture of it on the screen if I haven't already. And the card just looks really, really neat. I like when we see things from the past. I like the time capsule aspect of things. And that card basically serves as a time capsule of what life was like 100 and some odd years ago. You had to rely on things like the newspaper and like the post office. And imagine when people say they're going to send a card and then they don't. You know, certain things can happen. Could you imagine if that card was meant to go to your fiance, and all of a sudden your fiance doesn't get that card, and they think, well, maybe we're no longer together, and they end up moving on without you? That's some crazy stuff. I wonder if this card that never made it had a multiplicative effect. I wonder if it changed the future. And here's the thing, it did change the future. You know why? Because now there's people at this Swansea Society that are actually trying to find Lydia Davis's relatives, when in reality, they were probably meant to never ever come in contact with that postcard. But some way, somehow, the twists of fate entwined them, right? And now all of a sudden they're looking for relatives from somebody from over 120 years ago. That is just the neatest story ever, I think. And that's where I got to give kudos to our friends at the Good News Network. Some way, somehow, they always come up with a really cool story. That would be funny if Good News Network got super popular, you know, like really, really popular over the next 5 or 10 years. And then you find out the reason they come up with these really cool stories is because they have really cool authors that just make up this junk. Could you imagine? Oh my God, that would be so funny. I'm gonna do that to you guys in the future. I'm gonna write little one-page stories, and then I'm gonna be like, oh, we got a letter. We got an email from a Venter fan. Check out this story, and I'm gonna see if I can get it right past you guys, and you guys won't even notice. You guys will be like, hey, I remember you told us on day 160 whatever that you were gonna do this to us. Is that what this is? Is this fake? Let's see if anybody remembers. I'll do it in a couple months. I bet no one will remember. If you guys do, you guys will get bonus points. I'll do something special for whoever figures it out. But let's see if anybody ever mentions it. What's really cool about my channel is that a lot of people watch the first 10 or 15 minute little reaction, but only the true venters watch the whole thing and walk with me, right? So what's really interesting is if I ever want to put something fun on my videos, like a contest or something, all I have to do is talk about it from minute 15 or 20 on, and it becomes like a secret contest that only the venters know about. So again, that's going to be the fun contest. Let's see if you guys remember. In a couple of months, I'll read a story. I'll pretend like it's from some viewer or some email I got. And let's see if somebody calls me out and says, Jesse, but Jeji, that sounds like bullshit. Whatever, Bob. You don't count. You don't get to guess. You have inside information. By the way, do you guys ever speak to your internal Bob, right? Bob lives within all of us. Or in Mala's case, it might be Bobalina, right? But sometimes you have to be your own best friend. And sometimes you have to ask yourself questions. You know, do I really want to go down path A, or do I want to go down path B, right? You know, maybe Dale and Karen at work are really bugging the crap out of you, right? Do you want to go down path A where you resign? Or do you want to go down path B where maybe you get into competitive mode and you figure a way that you can just kind of blow Dale and Karen out of the ballpark? You know, Dale and Karen are not always our supervisor. Sometimes they're our co-worker, you know? What better way to get revenge on Dale and Karen than to have success? And a lot of times we can cater our walk towards getting us there. What we can do is on our walk, we can jump into our think tank. One of my favorite things to do in life, jump into your think tank, and I'll tell you why. I've come up with solutions for problems that were so novel that I've become convinced that the only way I found out about them is because I went on a walk and pondered them. Now, I don't have any scenarios to tell you about because life is something that's been going on for the last 47 years for me. But I can tell you one thing, that when I have to come up with a plan of, hey, I need to come up with $1,000. I'm going to save this amount of money every month and I'm going to make it happen. Those ideas come along when you're walking. So if you know that your job is maybe a seasonal job and it's going to be ending shortly after Christmas, right? Because sometimes we get seasonal jobs around the holidays. Well, what are you going to do? Is that extra money that you're saving for a special reason? If so, plot out each paycheck so you know what you're going to have to hit your goal. If it's a seasonal job and you know that you're going to be finding a new job in January, maybe start putting out feelers, in November and December, so that when January comes, you're ready to go into that new job. Maybe ask your partner or spouse, for their input. One of the things that we don't want to do is we don't want to just jump and make rash decisions, without letting our spouses know. One of the things that irritates significant others in relationships is when they feel like they're left out and they don't know what the heck's going on. They don't know up from down because you didn't communicate with them. Maybe you have major communication problems in your relationship. Maybe just like a walk, you need to learn to close your mouth, breathe, and listen to what your partner's saying. Sometimes I make it sound like our partners are a pain in the butt. Sometimes our partners are the miracle angel that we've been praying for. Sometimes when you're a miserable person, sometimes only your spouse or significant other can appreciate you when you're a miserable person, right? Sometimes we are the Dale and the Karen. So always think of our spouse, think of our significant other, but then know this: because you're making a plan to respect your spouse and to respect your significant other, that doesn't mean that you give yourself a green light to turn to rage and anger when they don't necessarily reciprocate. They don't know that you're making a plan to treat them with more respect. So because they don't know that, they don't necessarily know that you're expecting the same in return. Okay? Because you're taking a walk and strategizing, that doesn't mean that your husband and wife like that. I've met people in my life that when you want to hang out with them, they say, let me check my schedule. And they open up their calendar and they've got a million things in their calendar and they're always trying to plan things for the future. Conversely, I've always met people also that never put things on their schedule and they take every day kind of as it comes. Sometimes those people collide, and you have people that don't have a schedule and they reach out to people that do and they say, hey, I want to get together with you today. Well, guess what? They're going to be asking a question that's going to lead to disappointment, because 9 times out of 10, the people that maintain schedules will literally tell you, I already have plans that day. What's irritating about life is that those same people will cancel plans with you to do things with others. That's just reality. You ever known somebody like that? You want to do something spontaneous and they say, I already have plans. But then when you create plans with them, they have no problem breaking them. And sometimes we're that person. Sometimes my kids do that stuff to me, right? Where, hey, we're gonna have this arrangement, and then the day before the arrangement, they call to say, change of plans. And before you know it, your weekend where you were thinking you were gonna hang out with your kids or whatever, all of a sudden that goes by the wayside. That's where I love to walk. Heck, if you people ditch me, and when I say you people, I'm talking about people of the future that I have plans with. When people ditch me, my plan is I'm gonna take a walk. And I think you should make it your plan too. Make it where when people ditch you and people leave you high and dry, don't let it bother you anymore. Just tell yourself, hey, this is fate's way of telling me to go take a walk. And take a walk. And if you have friends that they're on their 3rd, 4th, or 5th time in a row of canceling plans with you, I hate to say it, but maybe they just don't really want to be your buddy anymore. Isn't it weird how some of us grow up and we get on this path to come together, but then conversely, isn't it also strange that some of us just naturally go on a path that divides and we get separation from people? You get to the point where all of a sudden, golly, I used to hang out with Bobby Sue every weekend. I haven't hung out with Bobby Sue in the last year and a half. Well, you know what? Maybe Bobby Sue doesn't look at the relationship the same way you do. They don't look at your advice and the things that you talk about when you're together as something that's worthwhile to them. And that can be hard to take. I would imagine out of all the friends that I used to hang out with, I'd imagine at least a handful of them think, you know what? I don't want to hear Jesse's stories anymore. I don't want to go out to eat with Jesse and hear about how I should drink water and avoid sugar. right? Those things happen. And by the way, if you're a friend that I go out to eat with, I don't mention things like drinking water and avoiding sugar, and I don't look at people weird if they're a little overweight, you know? Those things don't bother me. I never judge friends based on those things. And here's the interesting thing, I don't really judge friends on their shortcomings either. Some people are naturally a wreck, and some people legitimately forget about the idea that they had plans with you. So again, when I tell you these things of, hey, sometimes this person's not your friend and you might have to cut them loose, everything comes with an asterisk. And everything is predicated on your gut. If you have somebody that's a friend that's going through a tough time and you haven't hung out with them for a year, that's not necessarily a green light situation to cut them out of your lives. Sometimes you have to put yourself in their place. That's another thing we work on during our walk is our empathy skills, right? Sometimes you have to put yourself in their place and say, you know what? The reason they're being antisocial with me is because they have a lot of shit going on in their lives. And let's be honest, we've all had moments in our lives where we've had a lot of stuff going on. And if we were to ask ourselves during those tough moments, was I the best brother? Was I the best sister? Was I the best uncle or aunt or friend? And sometimes the answer is no. And then when we look back, we usually forgive ourselves because we say to ourselves, well, I was going through a lot of stuff. I was going through turmoil. That was when I was leading up to my divorce with my husband or my wife. A lot of times when we can empathize and put ourselves in other people's places, all of a sudden a lot of these things that irritate us no longer irritate us. I like to talk about the guy that cuts you off in traffic. You'll never know why he or she cuts you off. You'll only know that you really didn't appreciate it. You'll only know that it bugged you. But if you can tell yourself, that guy just got a really bad phone call and that guy's in a rush for some reason. Or maybe that guy's air conditioning went out in his car and he's trying to get some movement just to get some air in there so he can cool down, right? Sometimes rush hour has a way of making us feel like anybody but ourselves. So again, the next time somebody cuts you off, don't hit your horn. I mean, hit your horn if it's really excessive and they almost hit you and there was almost an accident, right? But if they cut you off, just assume they've got something in their life and they've got to get going, okay? Now here's the interesting thing. Let's say you're wrong. Let's say they don't have anything in their life going and they are just being a jerk, right? Well, what happens in rush hour when you try to go too fast? Usually little or nothing. You're still going to get to that red light up ahead just as slow or just as fast as I am, right? So again, if somebody cuts you off, this is something where I used to have a problem with it. That's why I bring it up. I used to be the type to lay on my horn, and then as they got away, I would hit my gas and go up there like my 150-pound butt was going to do anything about it. You know what I mean? I mean, what are you going to do? Do you really want to make the news for a road rage incident? Whenever I see road ragers make the news, I think to myself, God, that is a silly reason to spend the rest of your life in jail or prison, you know? I've seen stories where road ragers have followed people home and then shot bullets into their car, and guess what? They never hit the intended target. They end up hitting the 8 or 9 or 10-year-old child in the back seat. You know, so again, if rage leads us to do these idiotic things that come across as cruel and wrong, then why would we want to be related to rage? You know, let's take advantage of being venters. We now have a daily walk where we can get those horrible thoughts, these negative emotions. We can work through them. We can get them out of our way. We can make them a thing of the past. Is it a perfect scenario? No, there's always going to be things that upset us and rub us the wrong way. But with every walk that we take, we can become a little bit better at being the master of our domain, as they say on Seinfeld. God, I used to love that show. I still love that show. If I could force every 20 to 30-year-old person to watch a handful of shows of Seinfeld, oh my God, they would end up binge watching the whole thing. Best show by ever, in my opinion. Seinfeld. If you agree, let me know down below. A lot of people will say, well, I don't know, I was kind of hip to Friends. If Friends or Seinfeld was your favorite show, let me know down below in the comments. I remember I was working and I was living alone, and I had just broken up with the mother of my child about a year earlier, and I was still really butthurt and depressed about it. And after I got home, because I worked one of these jobs where I worked from, like, let's say noon until 8, and I would get home at maybe 8:30 or 9. And about an hour later, after the news, on Channel 5, I still remember it, I started watching reruns of this show called Seinfeld. And the only reason I did it is because I only had basic cable in my apartment and I didn't have many options to choose from. So I start watching this show about nothing. It's called Seinfeld. It's kind of like this walk that's about nothing, right? It's like walk, talk, vent. I love how people have to honk so they can make your show. But anyway, I start watching Seinfeld and I start realizing the first time I watch it, it's not really that funny of a show. Because you don't know the characters yet, right? Just like Walk, Talk, Vent, you probably start liking the show a little bit more as you get to know who Jesse is, right? Well, as I got to know who Jerry and Elaine and Kramer were and Costanza, right? All of a sudden, I start falling in love with the show. And one week, Kramer's my favorite character, and then another week, George is. I even liked Newman, the mailman, They had all these neat scenarios, these different storylines and threads that would come together at the end like a perfect puzzle. Absolutely love that show. And I don't care how old or young you are, if you end up watching a handful of Seinfelds, you'll end up wanting to binge the whole darn thing. It's that good. And some shows like that can really change your mood. So I would come home sometimes kind of butthurt because I didn't necessarily like my job that much, and I didn't necessarily like the idea of not being with my girlfriend and my family, because when you get split up, you don't really have a choice about it. And I didn't like those feelings I was going through. But when I would go home, I found solace in watching the Seinfeld show. I'm kind of hoping that that's what Walk, Talk, Vent is for some of you. Sometimes we need to know that we're not alone in life. We're not the only one that's dealing with weight issues. I'm not the only one that's dealing with an estranged son, right? I'm not the only one that has found out that a family member died without us getting to say goodbye, right? And so that's why I walk. Sometimes we have those scenarios where we just say to ourselves, I'm a victim of circumstance. Some people are rich in this life. There are some very educated, really smart people that for whatever reason, they just went down a path that had nothing to do with getting rich. Here's the cool thing. If you want to feel like you're rich without being rich, become a minimalist. Start buying stuff that you need rather than stuff that you want. Start enjoying situations out of things that are free, like taking a walk, right? If you want to shop, why don't you shop like you did back in the 80s? Put your shoes on, call your girlfriends, see if they want to meet you down at the shopping center or the mall, and walk around and buy something. I'm telling you, no one talks about this, but if you used to walk at the mall to buy stuff every week, and now you're going on Amazon to buy it with the touch of a finger on a keypad, you're not getting the exercise that you used to. And that has a multiplicative effect. I'm telling you, if you look at our lives now compared to what they would have been if we didn't have a telephone, there's a chance that our cell phones have changed our futures, and for many of us, it's not for the better. It's for the worse. I want you to think about this. If the internet never blossomed, if people in their rooms typing in chat rooms, if that's all it ever was, because let's be honest, I didn't like the internet the first year or two it came out. I didn't like the idea of cyber chat rooms. You remember they used to talk about cyber sex and cyber crimes and cyber chat rooms? I don't even hear the word cyber anymore. Do you? I haven't heard that term in a decade, but that's what we used to hear all the time. And when I first found out about cyber, I remember me and friends, we would make fun of the computer nerds, thinking, who the hell would want to sit there on their computer all day? But guess what? Now that the computer's been put into our cell phones, many of us are glued to that computer every day. Many of us don't know what it's like to go out and be rejected by somebody you like, because we do it over the phone, swiping left or swiping right. So imagine a world where that technology was never introduced to us. How different would everybody's life be? There's a 90% chance you wouldn't be married to the person you are. You'd be married to someone else. There's a 90% chance, in my opinion, that we would all be 5 to 15 pounds less, not because we would be great dieters, but because when you take away the cell phone, people become more active. We know for a fact we would all be more social. We would all be willing to talk out problems a little bit more. Why? Because before the internet, that's what we used to do. We used to say, hey, I disagree with you, but I appreciate your opinion. Now we say, I don't like your opinion, I'm gonna get the mob on you. And we're gonna put so much social pressure on you that your employer is gonna fire you. Well, I don't know about you guys, but there's something really wrong and borderline evil about that. That every time somebody disagrees with you, you can really make their life miserable, okay? Life used to not be like that. You actually used to have to get along with people that had different opinions. Now we are so polarized that whatever side of the aisle you're on, you're usually talking to just your friends on that side of the aisle, and your friends that are on the other side of the aisle, screw them, we don't need them in our lives, right? There's something wrong about that. I'm not asking you to pick up the phone and become friends with people that you totally disagree with. That's not what I'm saying, and I think you know that. What I'm simply saying is that life, it used to be different. We were on a timeline that was really greatly affected by the internet, cyber, cell phones. If that would have never come along, I firmly believe that each and every one of us would have a completely different life. It kind of reminds me of books that used to be real popular when I was a kid. Please let me know down in the comments if you ever read a fun, choose your own adventure book. For those of you that maybe have never heard of a choose your own adventure book, imagine a book where on page 1 it tells you who you are and what the scenario is, and then at the end of page 1 it says you have a choice. You can pick door number 1, go to page 25, or you can pick door number 2, go to page 17. And then right there is your fork in the road. That's what made these books so fun. You choose page 25, you're going down one future. You choose page 17, you're going down another. Well, we had a choice in the late 90s. Are we gonna go down this road of internet and cyber, right? And cell phones, or are we gonna stick to the way we are with duplicate papers and everything has a paper trail rather than a digital trail? And we as a collective group all around the world said, hey, we're gonna go digital and we're gonna become an internet society. And this is what we get. 25 years later, everybody's overweight, everybody's a little stupid, everybody's a little antisocial. We've all lost communication skills. But that doesn't mean you have to. And it doesn't mean I have to. Get out on your walks. Say hello to your neighbors. Contact old friends and old family. See if you can meet them in person. Start going out shopping. And when you get there, park in the back of the parking lot and walk to the door. Start drinking water. There's so many things we can do to better our lives. Venture up. I'll see you tomorrow.